So to avoid being redundant, I did continue to have three round. Hi, so today I'm going to talk about the side effects that I had with chemo treatments number 8 through 12. And chemo number 12 was the very last chemo treatment I had. I had 3 rounds of chemo, which means 12 chemo treatments. So I'm just going to dive right into it. So to avoid being redundant, I'll just say that I did continue to have the following side effects: mouth sores, chemo brain, joint pain in my knees, and significant hair loss. So if you haven't seen my previous video, I will put a link to it somewhere up here, and I do go in more detail about those side effects. So if you haven't seen that video yet, go ahead and check that one out first. So in that previous video, I did talk about the temperature irregularities that I experienced, specifically hot flashes, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit more here because they became so much more intense. I was experiencing hot flashes for about 2 weeks, up to 7 times a day. It was a little bit rough, I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of putting on sweaters, taking off sweaters, and also just generally never feeling like perfectly in the middle. I was always hot or cold. It was annoying. Something else that I did touch on in the previous video about side effects was back pain, but with this also, the back pain got more intense. It actually got to the point that I couldn't go to sleep without taking ibuprofen. I didn't really experience that much back pain during the day. It was more so at the end of the day when I was trying to go to sleep. I don't know if it was just because I was paying more attention to it or I had fewer distractions around me at the end of the day, but by the time I was in bed trying to go to sleep was really when I felt the most pain, and it did get pretty intense. I would say it was probably like on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I would rate it about a 6 out of 10. And that was during the last 2 weeks of my chemo treatments, but it actually also persisted even a week after I had finished chemotherapy. Something else that I experienced was weight loss. I did lose 5 pounds, and I asked the nurse about this because I wasn't sure, like, at what point do you start to become concerned about your weight loss? And she actually told me that it was about 5 pounds or more is when our oncologists at my cancer center would start making sure that you're meeting with a dietitian. So since I was right at 5 pounds, I actually wasn't concerned enough to bring it up with my oncologist, and I only would see her maybe once every 3 weeks, so it wasn't necessarily at the forefront of my mind. And, you know, since my last chemo treatment, I believe that I have been starting to gain some of that weight back. Something else that I experienced was neuropathy in my thumbs, and it was really interesting. It was only in my thumbs, and it was only for maybe a few days. It actually didn't last very long. A little bit weird, I know, but basically what I felt was just this numbing and tingling sensation in my thumbs, and it was never strong enough to where I couldn't use my thumbs. I could still grip and hold onto things perfectly fine. But it was just kind of noticeable for maybe 3 to 5 days. It was very minor though. I didn't actually have to do anything about it. Definitely if it had persisted, I would have brought it up to my oncologist. But yeah, for me it was just for 3 to 5 days and then it kind of went away. Another side effect that I started experiencing was itchiness on the sides of my torso and my hips. And I know that an itchy kind of rash can be common. I actually didn't get a rash, but I was definitely itchy. And this was in the last week of chemo between treatments 11 and 12. And then even a couple weeks after the chemo stopped, I was still feeling this itchy sensation, again on the sides of my torso and on my hips. A couple more side effects that I started experiencing were my nail pigment was darkening and my nails also became really sensitive. It was really strange. The way that I noticed this happening was I was preparing lunch for my girls, and you know how you have to kind of dig your nails into an orange or a nectarine to peel it? That's how I started noticing my nail sensitivity. It really hurt. So yeah, and then I just started noticing that they were definitely much more sensitive than they used to be. And then I noticed the pigmentation had changed in my nails. I'll show you a picture here somewhere. It was very slight, but you could definitely see in certain areas of my nails that they were getting darker. So that happened too. In terms of things that helped with these side effects, I forget if I mentioned this, but regarding my joint pain in my knees, I did take Tylenol, and then I did take glucosamine. And glucosamine is supposed to kind of help with your joints, with degeneration, and help with pain. But if you're going through this, please don't take any medications that I say that I'm taking just because I'm taking them. With every medication, even if it's just a vitamin, you need to make sure that your oncologist is aware and that he or she is okay with you taking any kind of medication. But for me, for the joint pain, I did take Tylenol and glucosamine. Regarding the weight loss, I did touch on this, but having smaller, more frequent meals or even just snacks definitely helped as well. And also, I think sometimes you just have to be flexible with yourself. If you are not in the mood for like a real actual dinner, for me, sometimes I just ate whatever sounded good to me at the time. So there were a handful of times where I would just have Honey Nut Cheerios cereal for dinner because that's what sounded good and that's what I wanted to eat. Regarding chemo brain, I got nothing. Supposedly exercise helps with chemo brain, and supposedly brain activities like from Lumosity, different sort of activities to kind of help your brain stay stimulated help supposedly. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any recommendations on chemo brain. Wait, what was I just talking about? Just kidding. But seriously, it's bad. Regarding neuropathy, since it didn't really last very long for me, I didn't really end up doing anything about it, but definitely talk to your oncologist if you are experiencing neuropathy. There are things you can do or take like steroids or patches or creams with numbing medication, but talk to your oncologist. In terms of itchiness or a rash, some things that help are using a gentle soap, keeping that skin moisturized, and reducing sun exposure. In terms of nail sensitivity, cut your nails short. That helped for me a lot with the pain level, and then also you can use nail strengthening nail polish, and that may help too. So that about wraps it up. I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.